Chris, welcome to the podcast. It is really good having you here.
Oh, you have such a nice voice. We were just talking beforehand. Like it's so deep, it's so dulcet, it's so nice to listen to.
Well, like I told you, it's the microphone. You spend a little money on
Yeah.
the microphone, it can correct everything. So there you go.
Outside of it, you sound like a chipmunk. Yeah.
We'll never know. Hey,
Well,
listen,
yeah.
you heard a little of my introduction of you. You've done a lot. And, one of the things that I latch on to is that, boy, you know about productivity. This is not just a hobby for you, it's a passion, it's an
Mhm.
obsession. But I want to let you put in your own words here. Where did this come from for you? What's the backstory that brought you here, sir?
Oh man. So it started about a decade ago when I graduated from university. I got a few job offers, but I thought if there's ever a time to explore my weird interest, it was then. So some people have normal interests like music and cooking and sports and stuff. For whatever reason, I've been obsessed with this idea of making the most out of the limited time that we have, because we only have so much time every single day on this earth in general too. So why not become more intentional with that time, become more productive? And I think productivity is a word that has a lot of loaded connotations with it, but I've always seen it as a process through which we can become more intentional about where we put our time, our attention, our energy each and every day. So that's the angle that I explored at. It started like that decision was impossible to explain to my parents, my grandparents, but now 4 books later, it seems to make sense. I think I'm just an incredible uh, nerd, and I'm so lucky every day. I feel so lucky every day that I get to do it for a living. It
When I learned about your book, Intentional, congratulations, by the way, January
Oh,
6th, it is out. The
so
name of the book,
excited.
everyone, is Intentional: How to Finish What You Start.
Mhm.
And it was both the title and the subtitle that got me: How to Finish What You Start. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the time of year where a lot of us, we have set big goals and we're all over this. But that's the question, isn't it? How to finish what you start. And so, why did you decide to write this particular book, your fourth book? Why was this the one that needed to be written?
Well, I've always been obsessed with this idea of intention, but there's never been enough raw material related to it for a book. How do you make a book out of that? How do you know if this should be this something the size of a book or something that's a long read in the Atlantic or something? And I've always felt with intention, I've had enough raw material, raw thoughts, the science, the research, the conversations I've had with people for it to be a long read. But it was really encountering a lot of the interesting research behind what motivates us, which is the science of our values. That so okay, this kind of everything falls into place after this. And values are an interesting topic because whenever I've heard them, my eyes have glazed over because I think of all the exercises that I've done, all the cheesy corporate exercises I've done where some consultant comes in and they're like, okay, circle the things the on this list of hundreds of values that you care most about.
I've done it.
And yeah, and it's like, okay, that I feel like I should circle the whole damn page here. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but all you have to do, like, you go to Google Scholar, you type in values, and this brilliant research, which shows that we have 12 fundamental human values that it motivates every single one of us. We all have them in some combination. We're all a different concoction of these 12 different fundamental motivational values. That was the missing piece that showed the way to finishing what we start, because so often we have these goals but they aren't rooted in who we are or what we care about or what we really are motivated by at our fundamental human core. And
Mm.
so a goal is fine. Like, goals are better than nothing, but there's a reason, it's New Year's. 92% of us fail at the resolutions we make. Why is that? Because we set the goal that sounds good, but it isn't rooted in this motivational nature. And so it's seeing, I suppose, the greater architecture in integrating the science behind this concept of intentionality that really this idea came forward, which is the book.
That's great. Well, congratulations. I think you hit it. I mean, you talked
Oh,
about the
thank you.
science of goal attainment and how we can finish what we
Mhm.
start. And but here's what I think, Chris. I think I could have saved you all that work of writing this book because I know how to reach goals. Everyone listening knows how to reach goals. It's that
Yeah.
SMART acronym, right?
Ah!
Specific, measurable,
Ah!
action, results, time bound. So right there, it's a paragraph. And so where's that paradigm? Where have we gotten that wrong?
Oh, okay. You know how to fire me up, man. Okay. So this was actually okay. In full disclosure, I've written about SMART goals in the past, myself on my website. And so I looked at the research behind SMART goals, and I started reading it, and I thought, oh boy, my heart like sunk. And I thought, how could I not have looked at the research before just publishing this stuff? Because it sounds so good. Like SMART goals, the standard, there's a lot of different permutations for the different letters, but in general, it stands for specific, memorable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. But the research shows that they are often less effective than doing nothing at all.
Come on.
I know. And
No.
and so and so because when you look, there's a first of all, there's redundancy in the criteria. So aren't specific goals also measurable? Aren't those attainable too? Aren't attainable goals kind of realistic? And goals also don't need to be specific to be achievable, especially when we're in the learning stage of a goal. That actually there's also research that shows that making goals more challenging, not so much that they're like a stretch that's totally unrealistic, something we'll never achieve, but that's difficult. It's going to be a challenge. That's better than making something just realistic. And
Hmm.
so there's all this research that not, and you look at the origin of SMART goals. It actually started in a management review journal where somebody was defining criteria for management excellence, and it's
Yeah.
since been spread out in a cultural game of telephone ever since that point. And so it's really becoming more intentional across every level of intention in our life that does the trick.
That was really eye opening for me as well. This perspective that Chris is laying out is a different lens at looking at setting goals, reaching goals, and how to finish what you start. Here's what you write, Chris, and for everyone else.
Hmm.
In the process, you'll learn how to craft smarter goals and intentions that are personalized to who you are, which will make you follow through on them more often. That was an aha for me. This whole
Mm,
discussion about who you are,
yeah.
and you brought up values earlier. Here's a
Hmm.
quote in your values chapter: "We do not see things as they are, we see them as we are." Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about these values here
Oh,
and about
yes.
who
Okay.
we are.
Yeah.
Why is that such a driver of finishing what we start?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, thank you for reading the book. And your listeners should know that you read the book, because interviews are significantly better. Authors have a better time when somebody read the book. So,
Hmm.
first of all, props to you.
You got it.
But values are this fascinating idea. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever encountered in the research. So essentially, in any one moment, we're either motivated by enriching ourselves or enriching other people. That's kind of the first dimension.
Hmm.
Or we're focused on improving things or changing them versus conserving things as they are. These are the fundamental drivers behind everything that we do, everything that we will ever do, right? If you want to journal, right? I don't know. I was journaling before we started chatting, right? Maybe that's a chance for self reflection, right? To improve yourself. Maybe that's a focus on yourself too. So we're always kind of propelled forward by those fundamental motivations. And inside of those are these 12 values that I mentioned. And I'm going to read them off. So the 12 motivations that drive everything we do and everything you do, we're all a different combination of these, are as follows: self-direction, just going our own way; stimulation, right? This novelty that we get; hedonism, or pleasure, which is just pleasure of the senses, everything from taking a bath to eating a good meal to the more sultry things. Achievement is a fundamental value. Power, whether that's power over resources or people. Face is a value, right? It's how we come across to other people and avoiding humiliation. Security is another value. Tradition, conformity, which
Hmm.
is abiding by the expectations other people have of us and the ones we have of ourselves. Humility is another value. Universalism, which is respecting and protecting the welfare of people and of nature. And benevolence, which is kindness. And so we're all, every single one of us, because of our conditioning, because of our nature, our nurture, the intentions that we set by our own volition, we are all a combination of these 12 factors. And knowing which of your values are strongest for you allows you to connect with what motivates you the most because it allows you to connect your goals with who you are. All right, this is kind of the power from moving on from smart goals to the actual research based tactics is we get to mold our goals around who we are, and who we are is the sum of our 12 values.
Hmm. All right. Well, one surprise though, you're going through those 12. I was waiting for it. I value happiness. I want to be happy.
Yeah.
Where's happiness? This is what we're all chasing. Where's happiness
Yeah.
in this value wheel?
it it comes from realizing our values is
Ah.
happiness. And some values, that we see as values. So that was a different question I had in the research. That was one of them. And that is answered in the research, that happiness meaning as well comes from um, acting out these strongest values for us in our daily life. But another, like, there are other ones that I thought were missing as well. Like health is another interesting one too, right?
Good point.
Why isn't health a fundamental human value? That was on the page of 100 things that I circled.
Hmm.
It's because health fits inside of these values. And so some people pursue health because they want to connect with pleasure, right? They want to feel good in their bodies. Other people connect with health because building a healthy body is an achievement for them.
Ah.
So it fits under that value. Other people want to go their own way and prove to themselves how good they can do it. So it's a self direction value. So the priorities that we have fit inside of these values.
One of the ways that I talk about goals is, and you give me coaching where I'm right, where I'm wrong. Okay.
Oh, I'm
One of the
sure it's
ways I
great.
talk about setting goals is, for sure, right? What's your goal? Why is it so important to you?
Yeah.
So that you can do what? All right. So, in other words, if your
Mm.
goal, say, is to earn $500 a month, that's really great. But why is that so important to you? And I'll
Yes.
give you the real life example I share. That's so important to me, Chris, because I want to earn another $500 a month because I want to be able to pay my mortgage on time.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that so important to me? Well, because I don't want a bad credit score. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that so important to me? This third question, here's the real reason, because I never want to look across the kitchen table and see the look of fear in my wife's eyes.
Security.
Okay, is that what we're talking about? That's where the value
Yeah.
comes in?
Yeah, yeah. Value is like that. It comes in the third, the fourth, the fifth question you ask.
Okay. How
Yeah,
would then, let's take a time out here. I love this.
yeah.
This is again you're going deeper into this, more what I'm doing, more surface level. You're giving a lot of context to it. How would
No, you
someone?
need to start. You need to, like, sorry to interrupt. You need to start at that surface level though.
Yeah.
You need to start at the day to day,
Hmm.
because if you don't account for the day, like, you need to get to where you currently are with a goal, from that point to that route, which is what you value. So you need to spend, and that's why, like, one of the ideas I talk about in the book, and sorry, I'll so I
You go.
realize I'm interrupting you with this,
No,
but
you go.
but it's, we need to edit our goals, right? We can't see our goals as fixed, and that's what I love about that so you can do what approach is, we have these vague ideas of changes we want to make to our life, but then why? And so seeing the goals is like, goals in my view are more of a prediction of the reality that we'll end up creating than they are anything else.
Tell me more about what do you mean by a prediction? I haven't heard it talked about that way before.
Oh, I really think we need to hold our goals more loosely. We tend to think, okay, I want a six pack abs by beach season or something like that, right? 40% of everybody in the world is planning to lose weight at
Right.
any one given point in time. It's interesting. So it's an easy default. And so you look at that goal and you think, then you begin to ask, so what? So what? So what? And then you realize what you're truly after, which is to feel more secure and self-directed in your own body. You want more freedom to go your own way. And so maybe because you value security and self-direction, those are your top two values, right? You not only want the security of being able to make your own mortgage payment, but you want the security of being able to go your own way in your own life with self-direction.
Good.
So you edit the goal and you realize that's what you're after. And then the goal actually becomes motivating to you because you've done this reflective, you've tapped into what I call in the book our self reflective capacity. And you realize, okay, by asking enough questions about this goal, I get to arrive at the goal that is what I really wanted to set, but didn't really realize how or the path to doing so. And so it's so critical that, the edits that we make along the way get us closer to those values, which is why I love that approach of asking, you're asking a bunch of questions.
Well, okay. So here we
Yeah.
are. Here's Darren. Here's Chris talking about values, but how do we do it? How can the listener really take a
Yeah.
step or two to truly understand what those core values are for them, who they are?
One thing that somebody can do immediately, um, make a list of every single goal that you have in your life, every single thing that you're after. And first of all, we hold these things in our head and then we forget about them. And then we're hard on ourselves when we either forget about them or don't follow through with them, but
Yes.
really they weren't fully formed to begin with. So we play these mental games with our goals. Just get them out of your head. Your head is a terrible place for keeping your goals. Keep them in an external system of some kind. So I have a goal list that I review every single week. And on that goal list, it has is what it sounds like. The definition is in the name. It's broken down by the different contexts of my life.
Hmm.
And I don't have a lot of goals that I'm chasing across the different contexts. So I just break it down by home and by work. But you can break it down however you want, right? Fun, family, spirit, connection, home, body, mind, relationships, fun, finance, whatever categories that you want to fit these goals inside, and just list out everything, right? List the outcome that you're after. List the current actions that you're taking with each of these goals. And it helps to also list the values that each of these goals falls underneath. So for example, like there was one goal that I talk about in the book, and not to mention weight loss another time, because maybe people hear enough about that topic around New Year's, but it's something that I've struggled with in the past myself,
Hmm.
and really how I got to a place where it felt effortless was to make that goal less about face, how I looked to other people, having a six pack abs by beach season, and being more experimental with it in my own life.
Interesting.
And so doubling down on self direction, right? Instead of saying, okay, adopt this hardcore regimented routine, it was more, okay, experiment with a few different ways of eating, experiment with 3 or 4 different workout styles to find the one that fits with me most. I love Pilates now. I didn't expect to love Pilates, but I love Pilates now. It's
I
great.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. And so it's really like edit your goals over time and don't see your goals as fixed.
My gosh, there's a lot there. Man, where do I follow up on that? If you're on Instagram and you're thumbing through, don't you know the key to a successful life is getting up at 4:30 and doing a cold plunge and doing I mean,
Yeah.
there are numerous ways to you got to find out what really taps into what you value and you're going to have a lot more success on how to finish what you start. I'm
Yeah.
connecting the dots here, right? Am I
Yeah.
not, Chris?
Oh, 100%. And I love that you mentioned waking up early because that's a goal. Like we have these goals that are, I call them sepia toned goals, where we love the idea of making some change in our life. We love the idea of being, this, like you said, a 4 a.m. riser or whatever. And that is one habit that I've personally struggled to integrate into my life. So I struggle for a month or two to be this early riser.
Yes.
And then I finally do it. And I realized that I absolutely hate the ritual. So I have to go to bed when hockey games are on. I'm in Canada. And when friends want to hang out, I have to wake up at this ungodly hour when I have
Yes.
less energy. This is something I think we're disconnected with our own goals with, is for our life to be different, our days have to be different. And so this is true for every single goal that we have. And, we have this grand vision, this sepia tone vision of how different our life will be when we wake up early, when we wake up at 5 a.m. or whatever, to read the newspaper and catch up with
Of course.
messages and meditate and do yoga or Pilates, whatever it might be. But when you look at the day to day, it's horrible. It's horrible, if you're anything like me. And
Uh,
then you look at the research, where the research on that is actually quite interesting, where there's no difference in somebody's socioeconomic standing based on what time they wake up at.
no.
Uh,
Really?
I know it's what we do with the hours of our day. It's how deliberately we work, we live after we wake up, that make the difference in our socioeconomic standing. So,
That's so great. I mean, this is really eye opening for me. Here's one thing that I want to put to you, sir.
yeah.
Um, Even dropping or quitting a goal, did I
Mhm.
mean, come on, Chris, don't you know that there is no quit in this room? We're filled with persistence and grit, and we will
Mm.
just keep just driving towards something. We will not
Yeah.
quit. What would
Yeah.
you say to that,
Mm.
in the spirit of how to finish what you start?
I don't know. What do you what do you say to what do you say to somebody who gets fixated on something that they don't really want? What do you say? You know, for every goal that we are pursuing that we don't really want, that we think we want, whenever we tap into our self-reflective capacity enough to get to the point where we realize that we don't actually want that, that is freeing. It's freeing. It's total freedom. And it's at that moment that we get to decide who we truly want to be, right? We don't have to conform to some expectation that we have of ourselves or that other people have of us. We get to actually go our own way. And this is what I find beautiful about dropping a goal. Now, I should say that there, in the early stages of a goal, when you haven't edited the goal enough, especially to be in line with your values, dropping a goal might not be the wisest thing to do, because you haven't really refined your goal to the point where it's this thing that you feel it is something that you want, right? You
Right.
haven't really given it a chance, right? Because for every goal there is some little inkling usually in there that is worth, carving out and refining and, making a little statue out of the stone with. But then there are the goals where we refine it and we realize that there wasn't much of anything there.
Mhm.
That what we were really trying to get to was some expectation that we were trying to live inside, that other people had of us, or that we thought, or that was really some sepia toned goal in disguise. That's so often the case too. And when we get to that point, we need to drop more of our goals more often. These ideas that we're trying to pursue that aren't aligned with our motivational nature, they're not aligned with our values, they're not something that is will make a tangible difference. They're more of an idea. And so they become this thing in our life where we're just needlessly hard on ourselves for not achieving it.
Amen.
but
Amen.
but for that one thing, like, think of, when you fire up Netflix, right? You're watching a show on Netflix. There's a whole universe of shows that you could be watching instead in that one moment. Just think of, you go to the main page, there are thousands, tens of thousands. I don't know how many shows are on Netflix.
Mhm.
There's an infinite number of goals, little squares that you can jump into in your own life too. Your own choose your adventure story, where there's that really large and considerable opportunity cost that when you pursue one thing, you're pursuing that at the expense of every single other thing that you could be doing in that moment. And I think that's the key to keep in mind when it comes to goal attainment is every goal needs to be worthwhile because we have such a limited amount of time, attention, and energy each and every day. So refining them so they get closer to what we actually truly want, and not only what we want, but what motivates us, which are the same thing, our
Hmm.
values, but also dropping the things that turns out aren't aligned and that we can't find a way to align is critical too. But I think through all this, you know, for your days to be different, for your life to be different, your days have to be different.
That's great. Whenever we say yes to something, we essentially are saying no to something else. So
Yeah,
we've got to be really intentional, your word, about what are we saying yes to. The values is just the bedrock of this book and this whole
yeah,
philosophy. I love
yeah,
it. The name of the book, everyone, is Intentional: How to Finish What You Start. Chris, what I loved about it, again, practical, tactical tools for setting better goals. How you talk about follow through, and we've talked a lot about keeping your goals aligned with your values. What is it that you would hope someone would think or do differently as a result of uh, buying, reading Intentional?
oh, okay, okay. Just having more meaning in your life. And so it turns out there's such good research behind what we find meaningful on a personal level. And what we find meaningful also motivates us. And so we get greater motivation, we get greater meaning, we get greater capacity for accomplishment by being able to do these things. So our work becomes more meaningful while we contribute more. The 12 values, reflect on those, which motivate you the most out of those 12, which motivate you the least, and what goals have you currently constructed around those. It's fascinating stuff.
I love it. I love how I love your enthusiasm for it. It's so apparent, and it comes through in the writing and just this interview as well. Hey,
Oh,
Chris,
good.
what's the best way to follow you and everything you have going on? You're doing a lot.
Yes. So chrisbailey.com is where you can find me, my newsletter, the book, the values test, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's kind of intentional how to finish what you start. It's in bookstores everywhere.
So, Chris, before I ask you for
Yeah.
your "I Dare You" challenge to all of
Oh,
us, yeah, I
yeah.
know. I'm going to get your subconscious to begin working on it. But last question I have, I was fascinating. You
Yeah.
talk about time tracking, and how
Yeah.
does time tracking fit into all of this?
Yeah, yeah, and I love that tactical layer question. So time tracking, we often don't have a high level of time awareness, and so we'll finish a day and we'll think, "Oh man, what a busy day! What did I even do?" And we'll reflect. I guess I did a bunch of email. Oh, I had a bunch of meetings. We have a low level of time awareness, and when productivity, especially in a work context, because people are most interested in time tracking through a work context, though I think it does bring meaning in a personal context too. Um, when we up our level of time awareness, we're able to introduce a reflective layer on top of our time. So we don't just spend time, we spend time, then we reflect on how we spent it, and then we spend it again the next day and then reflect on it again. And so it's that reflective layer that comes from the increased level of time awareness. So there are a lot of different ways to do this. You can, write down the hours of the day in a notepad and track your day in 30-minute increments. You can have a spreadsheet approach. There's a lot of time tracking apps as well. But you can level up with your time tracking too by looking at what value did I invest in these hours, whether at work or at home. So there's a lot of different layers you can add on top of that.
I think that's cool. That's a really good takeaway, everyone. I would challenge everyone to
Yeah.
to do that. Take a look at where we're spending our time. I'm type A, but I'm pretty productive. But I've got a lot of slush time. I've got some windows of time where I'm scrolling on TikTok or
Yeah.
whatever, where it's like, okay, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So, okay,
Yeah.
Chris, here it is. You may not know this, but at the end of every episode, I ask my guest, "What is your I dare you challenge for all of us?"
Mm.
So this is the one thing that we could do or try to live a better life. So, Chris Bailey, what is your I dare you challenge for us?
All right, I got a simple one for you. Another tactic from the book, the rule of three.
Okay.
Now this is one of my favorite intention setting rituals. I've been doing it for probably a decade now. So all you have to do is at the start of the day or whenever you get a chance, fast forward to the end of the day in your head and ask yourself, by the time this day is done, what three main things will I want to have accomplished? And you can only pick three, right? And this doesn't mean you can't answer email and keep up with minutia, but these three things become your north stars for the day. Um, Everything else, right? When you want to do something else, weigh it against the relative importance of these three things. Is it more important? If so, do it. Maybe replace one of the three things, or maybe stick back to one of the original three. And if you find the rule works well for you each day, do it every week, every year, different layers
I like
of
it.
intention.
Like it. I think you brought up change your day, change your life. Am I paraphrasing there? But I like that a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay. Well, Chris, listen, we could talk for hours. I'd love to have you
yes.
back, but listen, your brand new book, Intentional: How to Finish What You Start. Congratulations! It's a different lens at this topic, and it is dynamite. So, congratulations, and thanks
Oh,
so much for being here on the I Dare You podcast.
oh, so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.